Hello, welcome. Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Okay, welcome everyone. Happy New Year. My name is Shelly, for those of you who don't know me. And this is our stretch and strengthen exercise class. This class is our low impact and low intensity exercise class. And the way the class works is we will start in a seated position and then move to a standing position and then back down to a seated position again. During the standing portion of our class, if you would like to hold on to something sturdy to keep your balance, you're welcome to do so. This class will be pretty slow pace, so you have time for lots of breaks if you need. I know it's one of the first classes of the year, so you're of course welcome to follow along and do as much as you can. If you haven't exercised before or you're just getting back into exercising, not to worry. This class will be a pretty gentle start for you all. For those who may not be aware, we do also have a Rock Steady boxing class this month, and that's with Doug Picard, and it happens on a Tuesday. We just had our first class this week, but the registration is ongoing. So if you would like to try out boxing this year, you're welcome to sign up for Doug's class on Tuesdays, and it is through the Parkinson Society website, just like how you registered for today's class. We are on the Zoom webinar platform today, so it means that all of your microphones are disabled, so you won't be able to talk unless you use the raise hand function to ask a question. And it's just so that way we don't get any feedback coming through the microphone as we're doing the class today, so everyone can hear. The session is recorded, so if you do want to redo this class again in the future, you're welcome to do so on our Parkinson Society YouTube channel. If you're not sure where to find that, you can always drop me an email after the class and I can send the link to you. And I'll just type my email here in the chat box. Okay, so feel free to email me if you have any questions or if you want to access the recording link afterwards. And we do have some new and exciting exercise classes coming up in the spring as well, which will go out to advertising on our website soon. So keep an eye out for that. Okay, I see that most people have entered from the waiting room. Welcome. For those who have just joined us, I was just saying that this stretch and strengthening class for the next 8 weeks, we will be doing a low impact and low intensity exercise class, and there will be lots of time for breaks if you need it throughout the session. So do your best, and no worries if some things are a little bit challenging. You are welcome to hold on to a chair or a table for some support in our standing portion of the class if you would like to do so. If you're looking for a slightly more challenging class, you're welcome to look at the boxing classes on Tuesday. You won't need any equipment today, although you do have an option to grab maybe some books, a block, a tissue box, something that you have to use when we do the stepping portion of the class today, but you don't have to. Sometimes people find it helpful to have a visual target, and so having a physical object is quite nice, but you don't need to. You can definitely do it without any equipment as well. Okay, all right, so hopefully you can all hear me and see me okay. If you have questions during the class, you can use the chat box function to ask the questions, or you can use the raise hand function, and then I can turn on your microphones and you can always ask the question over voice if you prefer. Okay. We're going to get started. I'm going to move back. Now, just like I mentioned, we are going to start in a seated position and then move to a standing position. So ideally, you've got a nice sturdy chair without wheels at the bottom, a sturdy chair that won't move on you, and ideally without armrests, so we can move our arms around and not hit our elbows on anything. But of course, if you only have a chair with arms, that's okay as well. Just be a little bit mindful where your arms are going. Okay, We're going to start sitting nice and tall in our chairs. We want to make sure we're not sitting at the back of our chair like this. We want to sit forward, shuffle our bottom to the front of our chair so we can be really nice and tall. And we're going to start by taking a breath in, reaching the arms up overhead. You're going to lock those fingers and see if you can stretch up as far as you can. And then we're going to let go of the arms and we're going to circle our wrists all the way down. I've just moved back a little bit because I noticed that my arms were cut off at the top. And we're going to try that again. Big breath in, reach the arms up overhead as far as you can. And you're going to lock those hands together and reach your palms to the ceiling. Big stretch, and then letting go, circling our wrists all the way down. We're going to do 2 more here. Breath in, reach up, lace the fingers, reach up towards the ceiling as far as you can. And then we're going to circle the wrist all the way down. Not to worry if you can't reach all the way up, just go as far as you feel you're able to. Last one, breath in, lock the fingers, reach up towards the ceiling, and then you're going to circle your wrist all the way down. Good. And then we're going to float the arms up. And we're going to start with a nice big side stretch. So see if you can separate those legs a little more. If your legs are like this, you might feel a little unbalanced. But there's nothing wrong with you having your legs together either. But it might be a little bit easier just separating them initially. And you're reaching the arms in opposite directions. Make sure your chest is forward. So we don't want to be like this. We want to keep the chest open. And come back to the center. Drop the arms for a second. Reach them back up. Same to the other side. Lean right over both of our sit bones on the chair, shoulders and the ears, and coming back up and lower the arms. Hopefully this feels quite nice. Try it again. Reach those arms up. Big side stretch. Keep both sit bones on the chair, not lifting off. Both sit bones on the chair. Reach the arms away, chest forward. And coming back to the center, drop the arms. Last one. Float the arms up again. And big reach over those sit bones on the chair. Separate those fingers if you can. And we come back to the center and we drop the arms. You're going to take your hand and you're going to reach the opposite knee. And then you're going to take your other hand, reach around to grab the back of the chair, sitting up tall. You're going to then pull yourself over into a rotational stretch such that you're looking at the back wall. Try to stay up nice and tall if you can. Don't worry if you can't go very far right now. Just do the best that you can. Hopefully we'll loosen up a little bit as the class goes on. And then we'll relax here. We'll do the same thing to the other side. So you're taking your hand, reaching the opposite knee. Then your other hand is going to wrap around the back of the chair, grab onto anything you can, sit up tall, and then you're going to pull yourself around to a rotational stretch. Keep those knees steady if you can. Try not to let the knees come around. Keep the knees where they are. You're sitting up nice and tall, looking at the back wall. Don't forget to breathe. And we come back to the middle. One more on each side. Grab hold of the opposite knee. Other hand wrapping around the back of the chair, sitting tall. And we're going to rotate around to the back wall, making sure you're breathing, knees steady. Nicely done. Last one on the other side. Grab hold of the opposite knee. Other hand reaching around the back of the chair, nice and tall. And then you're rotating around to look at the back wall. And then we'll return to the middle and rest here for a second. Okay, so now we're going to shuffle our back in our seat. Let me just turn sideways for a second. So we were sitting like this a moment ago. Now you're going to shuffle your bottom to the back of the seat so that you are leaning back into the chair. This is the only time we're leaning back. So you're sitting back, you're leaning into the back of the chair. And what we're going to do here is, and then we're going to go up and over the back of the chair into a back stretch. Just be careful here. We're not tipping our chairs back. So hopefully your chair is sturdy. Hopefully it hasn't got any wheels on it. So you're not going to tip back. And you're just going to hold this position for a couple of seconds. And then you're going to release and drop the arms. And we're going to do that again. So make sure your bottom is back in the chair. Because if you're here, you're going to have a really tough time going back and you might hurt yourself. So just be careful. We're going to shuffle our bottom back, rest into the back of the chair, bring the arms up behind the head, making sure the elbows are pointing out, not forward, point them out. And then you're going up and over such that you're looking at the ceiling. Big stretch for the upper back here. Hopefully it feels quite nice and probably a stretch through the front of the chest as well. And then we're going to come back to the middle, sit up nice and tall, and you're going to shuffle forward in the chair again. And I'm going to turn back around to face you. Okay, so you're sitting at the front of the chair nice and tall again. And we're going to go into some neck rolls. We're going to bring our chin down towards our chest. And then we're going to kind of do a semicircle roll here towards the right and then towards the left. And you're going to repeat that down towards the right and then towards the left. Just be a little careful if you got any neck pain. You can start the movement a little smaller initially if you like. And then as you get more comfortable, a little more warm, you're welcome to make the movements bigger and bigger. On the next rotation here, you're going to go all the way up and around, almost like you're drawing a big circle with the crown of your head. And then the same thing the other way. And as you're doing this neck circle, I want you to try to keep the shoulders down. So try not to do this with your shoulders up by your ears. I'm sure no one's doing it like that. I'm exaggerating. But try to lower the shoulders down so that you're kind of thinking about your shoulders being nice and heavy. So the arms are nice and heavy. The shoulders are nice and heavy. And you're just circling with the head, like you're drawing a big circle around the room with the crown of your head. Still sitting up nice and tall though, right? You don't want to be like this. You want to sit up nice and tall as you're doing the neck circles here. One more. And back to neutral. Okay, we're going to do a bit of a neck strengthening exercise here. I'm going to turn sideways for you. Now, this exercise we're going to do next is really great for your neck, not just because it stretches the back of the neck, but it also strengthens the very front, deep muscles in your neck. And the reason we're doing this is because a lot of the times our posture is like this, where we kind of have a forward head posture like this, where our chin pokes out. And what happens here is the back of our neck, I don't know if you can see that with my sweater on, but the back of your neck, it's really short because we're in this kind of forward chin poke position. And so we're trying to readjust that. We're stretching the back of the neck and we're kind of strengthening the front of our neck to pull that chin back in. And so to do that, we're doing this sort of a chin tuck movement. Okay, so you can watch me for a second if you like. So we're going into a chin tuck movement. So it's kind of like, you know, if you see pigeons walking down the road and they're kind of like this with their head. So it's like that, but instead of going forward, we're going backward. So you're tucking your head backwards in a horizontal position. So it's not that we're not dipping our head down and we're not dipping our head up either, but we're sliding the head back in a horizontal position, almost like you're holding onto a little peach under your chin. So this movement's really hard. Just imagine there's a peach under your chin and you're holding it there. Okay, so you're holding that peach there for seconds, And then you're gonna relax. It probably feels quite uncomfortable to do this at first because you're not used to it. And you should feel a little bit of a stretch in the back of the neck, and the front of the neck might feel a little sore because you're kind of clenching like you're holding a peach under your chin. And then you're gonna relax. We're gonna do that again. You're gonna slide that head back horizontally like you're doing a little chin tuck with a peach under your chin. And then we're gonna relax, and we're gonna do that again. And relax. So keep doing that in your own time, a couple more times. You're really thinking about the way that a pigeon moves with its head kind of bobbing forward with each step. You're doing the same thing, but just in reverse. You're bringing your head back horizontally, like you're sliding, like almost like your head is on top of your neck, and it's sort of on a sliding board. If you're just sliding that back without the head tipping up or down. So you're sliding it back, holding it for a few seconds, and rest. Let's do 2 more. Shoulders away from the ears. And 1 more. And rest. Okay, I'm gonna face you again. We're gonna now go into some arm circles. Make sure you're still sitting at the front of your chair. I'm gonna move forward slightly because I don't wanna hit the wall. You're gonna circle those arms. Doesn't matter which direction you're going because we're gonna go the other way in a second. And we're gonna go the other way, big circles. If you've got some shoulder problems, you can do it smaller, that's okay. Whatever range works for you today. Good, and rest the arms down. We're going to now do some heel taps forward. So you're extending the leg and you're tapping your heel forward on the floor. So we're not dropping the leg. We're not dropping the leg down. You want to lift it and then gently place the heel down in front of you with control. So it's almost like there's eggshells on the floor. You don't want to be crushing it, but you want to lift and gently place the heel on the floor with the knee straight as well. So you're starting to use some of your hip muscles here to control this movement. And now it's really important you're sitting at the front of your chair. So if I'm sitting at the back of my chair, there's no way my heel is going to reach the ground with my knee straight. So you need to be sitting forward so you can lift the leg and place it down, place the heel down with the knee straight, right? Because otherwise there won't be enough room in your hips to actually do this movement if we're sitting back here, right? My knees are always being bent because I physically just can't reach my leg down. So it's important that you're sitting at the front of your chair as you're doing this movement. Okay, keep going. Nicely done. A few more. Nice control. Should be very quiet in the room. We shouldn't be hearing your heel drop to the floor. Nice controlled. Good. Okay, and now we're gonna take that same movement, just go a little bit higher now. You're gonna straighten the knee and you're gonna show your camera screen the bottom of your foot. So it's the same thing in terms of straightening the leg, but now instead of going down to the floor and tapping the heel, we're kind of showing the heel to the camera here. You're still sitting up nice and tall. You're straightening the leg. So from the side, keep going. From the side, you're straightening the leg. You're lifting it up as high as you can with it straight, showing the camera the bottom of your heel if you can. You're aiming for the bottom of the heel. You're using your thigh muscle to help you with lifting the leg up. So we're no longer kind of bringing it down to the floor where you're resting the weight of the leg. You're using your muscles to really lift that leg up, showing me the bottom of your heel. Good, keep going. Nicely done. Let's do 2 more. And rest here, sitting up tall, hands on the hips. We're gonna just do 1 more thing before we stand up. And here's what we're gonna do. Feet flat on the floor. We're going to lift the toes up as high as we can, but keep the heels on the floor. And then we're gonna go the other way. Lift the heels up as high as we can, but keep the toes on the floor. So we're sitting up tall as we're doing this, toes up, heels on the floor as high as you can. And then toes down, heels up as high as you can. I'm gonna turn sideways for a second, you keep going. So we're lifting the toes up and then lifting the heels up. So you'll probably notice as I'm doing this movement, I'm still sitting up nice and tall. My posture hasn't changed. So what I don't want to see is us do this or this. We want to try to keep the body stacked on top of your hips as much as possible. You're sitting up nice and tall, shoulders away from the ears if you can, just isolating some of that ankle movement without the body kind of collapsing as we're doing that. Hopefully you're still sitting at the front of the chair, and hopefully you're still with me. You haven't fallen asleep. Keep going nice and tall, almost like you're balancing a book on top of your head. Just the ankles moving, but it shouldn't move the rest of your body. Very nice. 2 more. And we'll rest there. Okay. We're now going to practice our sit to stand in order for us to stand up to do the last half of our class. Now, common mistakes that people make when trying to stand up is having your weight too far back. So first things first, if you're starting to stand with your bottom all the way back in the chair, it's going to be very difficult because even if you're pushing with your arms, your weight is just too far back. Your feet are here, but your weight's still back here. So in order for you to stand, you'll have to do this kind of thing with your arms and then try to pull yourself up, which is not very efficient. So we definitely don't want to be doing that. We want to shuffle our bottom to the front of the chair so that our weight is as close to our base to support our feet as much as possible. Whereas if I'm back here, see how far my weight is compared to my base of support. Whereas if I move here, see how my weight is now here and the base of support is here. So the distance is much shorter. And essentially what you're trying to do here is you want to bring the center of your gravity, your hips, forward over your base of support, your feet, in order to successfully balance and stand. So we're sitting at the front of the chair and you're going to bring your weight forward. So you're bringing your chest forward, almost like someone's pulling your shirt forward over your legs. So much so that your bottom hovers off the feet, but your weight is over your feet. And then from here, you can push the floor away from you and squeeze your bottom cheeks so you can stay balanced, okay? So you're keeping your center of gravity over your base of support. And then same thing on the way down. You're sticking your bottom back, bending your chest forward so that your center of gravity stays forward over your base of support. And then you lower down into a seated position. What we want to avoid is using momentum over doing a 1, a 2, a 3 to stand up, because we're not very balanced when we do something like that. So we want to make sure we're able to control our center of gravity over a base of support. And that's essentially what balance is our ability to adjust our center of gravity over our moving base of support, no matter what we're doing. Okay, so we also want to avoid this, where we're standing up and we're pushing the back of our legs into the chair, and then we're trying to pull ourselves up. We want to make sure we're using the strength of our body to actually do the stand. So again, I'm bringing my weight forward over my base of support, feet, and then you're pushing the floor away from you. Squeeze the butt cheeks in so you're standing nice and tall over your base of support, the feet. Hopefully you've already joined me. If you haven't, please start trying to sit to stand in your own time. Same with when you're sitting back down, you're bending your hips back, chest forward, and you're slowly lowering down into the chair by keeping your weight over your base of support. Hopefully that makes sense. I know I talked a lot there a moment ago, but hopefully it makes sense. So just try on your own now, in your own time. The slower, the better, so we're not cheating by using momentum. And you're going to try to sit to stand. If this is really challenging for you, it might be beneficial to start from a higher chair, because in that way you have less less to go in terms of standing up. So a higher chair might be easier for you, but you still have to use the same technique. You can't just use a higher chair and then kind of cheat with momentum or do this and then try to pull yourself up. So keep going in your own time. Nice and slow. Really feel and be consciously aware where your body is and where your position of your major joints are. So that way you can really think about bringing your center of gravity over your base of support. Nicely done, everybody. We're gonna do a few more here. So see if you can do 3 more sit to stands in your own time. Remember, try not to use momentum. You want to go nice and slow and controlled. On your 3rd stand, I want you to stay standing. But take your time. If you haven't finished, don't worry, keep going. On your 3rd stand, you're just going to stay standing. Okay. Hopefully we're all standing up now. All right, so because this is our first class and we want to make sure we're tailoring to everybody's needs, especially those who have never exercised before. So we want to start in standing by doing some weight shifting. So I've got my chair that I'm holding onto on one side. It doesn't matter what side you're holding onto. You can have a chair on both sides if you like, or you can not hold on at all. It's entirely up to you as long as you're being safe here. And what we're going to do here is we're going to stand with our feet about hip width apart, nice and tall. And we're going to build on what we just talked about in terms of keeping our center of gravity on top of our base of support. So remember, that's what balance is, right? It's our ability to be able to continuously keep our center of gravity on top of our base of support, no matter how we're moving or which direction we're moving or how quickly we're moving. So standing up nice and tall, keeping our center of gravity over our base of support, our feet, we're going to start by swaying forwards and backwards on the spot without those knees bending. So let me turn sideways for a second. It's probably easier to see me sideways. So my feet are flat on the floor, and all I'm doing here is I'm shifting my weight to the front of my feet, and then I'm shifting my weight to the back of my feet without losing your balance, of course. So we don't want to be taking a step forward. So the movement is small enough that you don't have to take a step forward or backwards to save yourself. So we're trying to sway our weight to the front of our base of support and then again to the back of the base of support. And you'll notice that my hips are staying relatively in line with the rest of my body. So this swaying movement, sort of like an upside down pendulum movement, is very different to this, right? So I'm not sticking my hips forward and back. This movement is very different. So we're not doing this. Instead, we're staying nice and balanced over a base of support, and we're just bringing our weight forward to the very front edges of our base of support, kind of testing our limits there. And then we're bringing our weight back to the very back of our base of support. Just be careful here, because I don't want anyone to fall backwards. So definitely hold on if you need to, and maybe do a little bit less backwards if you feel unsafe, but you need to maintain your balance as you're doing this. So you're kind of testing the limits of your sway here to the front and to the back. Remember, you can hold on, right? So ideally, maybe it's not so good to hold on in front of you. You can, but it might be easier to hold on sideways. So with chairs beside you or walls or tables or whatever you've got there. Swaying forward and swaying back. So it's a nice subtle movement. And your sway is probably going to be a lot smaller than you think, but that's okay. You just go to the very edges of your base of support, forward and backwards, without losing balance, without having to take a step to save your balance. And over time, hopefully that will get bigger and bigger and bigger. Good. Okay, we'll stop there for a second. I'm going to face you again. So your feet are in the same position. We just did the forward and backwards. movement. Now we're going to do the swing sideways. So we're going to move our entire body from left to right and then back again. Now you don't have to lift the leg off the floor, right? We're not lifting the legs up. We're keeping the feet on the floor, but we're bringing our hips over to one side and then our hips over to the other side. So this movement is very different to this, right? We're not doing this, right? We're not moving our hips sideways. We're bringing our entire body over to one side and then the entire body, not just the hips, but the entire body over to one side and then over to the other side. And again, this movement is probably pretty subtle. I'm exaggerating a little bit so you can see the movement. You're going side to side, and again, you can hold on. You can hold on if you need to maintain your balance. So we're not lifting, right? We're not lifting our legs off the ground. Keep your feet on the floor. And we're just weight shifting from side to side, bringing not just the hips, but the shoulders as well. You're bringing the entire body over. Same with that reverse pendulum idea again. Holding on if you need. Always be extra cautious in these online classes because I'm not there with you in person. And so it's important that you've got some supports there to keep yourself safe. We don't want anyone to be falling in the class. Okay, let's stop there. Right, so those two movements, the forward backward sway and the side to side sway, we're now going to build on that a little bit. We're going to go back to our forwards and backwards sway, but this time we're going to bring one leg forward, one leg back. So from the side, I'm going to bring one leg forward, one leg back, okay? Now, we're not crossing the legs, right? We're just stepping it forward. You're going directly in front of you, directly forward. So we're not crossing, so don't cross your legs. We're going directly forward. Let me turn sideways for a second. We're going directly forward. And now what we're going to do is with the split leg stance, we're going to now practice that same forward and backward sway. But now we're transferring our weight to the front leg, and then we're transferring our weight to the back leg. Transferring our weight to the front leg, transferring our weight to the back leg. And as you're doing this, I want you to feel again what we mentioned earlier about your center of gravity going over your base of support. So we don't want to be doing this or trying to grip all of our weight into our arms. You want this movement to be a weight shift over the front and the back leg. So you're bringing your weight forward over your front leg. You bring your weight backwards over your back leg. Does that kind of make sense? It's almost like someone's kind of got your shirt and they're kind of pulling you forward over the front leg and then over the back leg. So you're really trying to keep your center of gravity over your base support the whole time. We're not doing this, right? We're not doing this where we're keeping our weight directly in the middle. You're practicing bring your weight forward and then bring your weight backwards. And of course, the further out you step, the more difficult it's going to be because the more you have to kind of transfer that weight. So as a starting point, you can have your legs a little closer together so you can really practice this weight shift here. Nicely done. Let's try to switch over to our other leg next. So we're going to bring the leg back, and then we're going to bring our other leg forward. Remember, you bring the leg directly forward, not crossing, right? So from the front, I'm bringing my leg directly forward. I'm not crossing the leg, right? They don't have to be in one line. I'm just bringing it forward. Okay, same thing. You're shifting your weight forward over the front leg, backwards over the back leg. And as you're doing this, remember this movement is your entire body, your entire center of gravity. It's very different to this or this, right? We want to bring our entire center of gravity forward, our entire center of gravity back. Make sure you're holding on if you need support, okay? We don't want anyone to fall in this class. Please be careful. As the weeks go on, we'll kind of build on this weight shifting part, and we'll do a little more advanced exercises with weight shifting, but as a starting point, it's good to have a good understanding of what it means to actually be weight shifting versus just moving the legs in a sort of uncontrolled manner. Nicely done. Make sure you're holding on if you need. Okay. Now we're going to start doing the side to side sway, but now with the legs wider. So remember before we did this, right now we're going to step those legs out wider than your shoulders, wider than your hips, but not so wide that you kind of can't balance in that standing position. And then from here, you're going to push yourself over to one side and you're pushing yourself over to the other side. Your legs should be wide enough that it's kind of like a triangle between the legs. If they're like this, it's too close. You want them to be open enough that there's a triangle. And you can hold on again on both sides or in front of you, whatever you prefer, but you're transferring your weight from side to side. Okay, I'm going to move my chair away so you can see my legs. Otherwise, my legs will be covered. But you're transferring your weight from side to side, just like before, exactly the same thing. Your center of gravity is going to move from side to side. So we're not doing this, right? We're moving our center of gravity from side to side. And of course, the wider your legs are, the more difficult, because the more you'll have to kind of lean to each side. So we can start with the legs, not too wide, but they need to be wider than your hips or your shoulders. So you can get that more of a sway feeling. Hopefully that makes sense. Good, nicely done. Keep going. Relax those arms. You don't have to hold them up. Relax them down by your side. Just let them dangle, let them sway if they must. But the most important thing here is feeling your weight shift from side to side. You're really feeling, connecting your feet to the floor. Nicely done, everybody. A few more. Okay, and then we'll stop there for a second. Okay, let's build on that weight shift a little more. So now I'm going to grab a block, or if you don't have anything, you don't have to use a physical object. It's just easier for me to show you the movement with a physical object. But if you want to, you're welcome to grab like a tissue box, some books, I don't know, a pillow, whatever you've got at home that's not too big, okay? And here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna turn sideways to you for a second. I'm going to put the block in front of me. Now, make sure you're holding on to something if you need to, okay? I'm going to move my chair out of the way because if I'm holding on to something, I don't think you'll be able to see my feet very well. So please be mindful. If you need to hold on, please do, okay? So here's what we're going to do. The object's in front of me, and I'm going to use that same principle of what we mentioned earlier, where we said that balance is essentially you're keeping your center of gravity controlled over your base of support, no matter where your base of support is going, right? So that's what we're going to practice now. So we're going to take our leg and we're going to step it forward over the block, and then we're going to bring it back. So you'll notice that I'm going to do the other leg now. You'll notice that as I'm doing that, my center of gravity is traveling forward and then it's traveling back, right? So similar to this one that we did earlier, where our center of gravity is going forward and it's going back. So we're physically bringing our center of gravity over our base of support all the time, so we're not losing balance. Same thing with this. So as we step forward, we're bringing our center of gravity forward, and it will bring our center of gravity back. Other leg will bring our center of gravity forward and back. Hopefully that concept sort of makes sense. So your center of gravity, you need to keep that on top of your base of support at all times in order to stay balanced. So just try that here if you haven't joined me already. Of course, the smaller the object, the easier it will be, because if the object is, say, much thinner, then I don't have to step as far, although I guess now it's taller, so I would have to lift my leg higher, but you get the idea. You don't have to have an object in front of you. You're more than welcome to do it without an object in front of you, as long as you're thinking about the idea of stepping over something. But if you're having a lot of problems with this concept, it's probably a good idea for you to have a physical object in front of you so you can really feel how you're stepping over something. We're not going around the block, but we're going kind of on top. So this is really similar to your walking. You're keeping your center of gravity on top of your base of support at all times in order to keep yourself balanced. And so this is sort of why a lot of people tend to lose their balance when they're, say, going backwards, when they're turning around, when they're freezing, because your center of gravity is now traveling outside of your base of support. So then you lose your balance. We'll keep doing this a few more times. Remember to hold on if you need to. I know it doesn't look like I am right now. I'm trying to put my hand on the wall here so you can see that you're holding on for this exercise if you need to. Of course, if you don't need to, that's fine. You can take your arms off of the support surface to really practice that weight shifting as well. We're going nice and slow. So it's almost a little harder to go slow and controlled rather than like a really quick step, right? So we're controlling the movement. Okay, let's stop here for a second. We're now going to try the same thing, but we're now going to step backwards. Now, this is probably going to be more challenging for a lot of people. Excuse me. So just be careful if you are using a physical object. So I don't want anyone to then step on the object and then trip backwards. So maybe start without an object at first, and then you can add it in if you like. But essentially, the movement is the same as what we did just now, except we're going backwards. So we're taking a step back and we're transferring our weight back, and then we're transferring our weight forward. Other leg, transferring our weight back, transferring our weight forward. So as we're doing this, please hold on or safeguard yourself in some way so you're not going to fall over, because I definitely don't want anyone to fall backwards and hit their heads or otherwise injure yourself. So please just be a bit mindful with this one. If you must, maybe do it in front of a wall so that if you do lose your balance, at least you kind of go into a wall and then you don't fall back anymore. So just be careful, okay? Be mindful of where your abilities are at right now. I don't want anyone to take risks, especially if there's no one there with you. So keep trying. Remember to think about the center of gravity over the base of support, over the base of support. Bring your center of gravity over the base of support, over the base of support the entire time. Nicely done. How are we doing? Hopefully good. Hopefully you're still with me. No one's falling asleep. One more. Okay, and let's stop there. I'm going to move the block away. We're now going to do a couple of last things before we finish up the class. You're going to find a wall for me here, and you're going to step back and put your entire back onto the wall. Now, I know this is a closet, but unfortunately, this is the wall that I have here. So I'm going to pretend this is a wall and not a closet. Just be careful if you are like me and you don't have a blank wall per se, just make sure there aren't any doorknobs that's going to kind of stick into your back, and there's no frames that you're going to hit your head on. But you're essentially going to stand in front of the wall. You're going to put your hips and your back on the wall if you can. And then what you're going to do here is you're going to bring your arms up into this position. So you're kind of looking like a cactus or a fork. And then you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together. And you're going to try to place the entire length of the arms on the wall. And then you're going to relax again. So we're doing kind of a back strengthening exercise. I'm going to step sideways for a second so you can see. Let me come forward. So pretend there's a wall here, okay? I'm going to kneel down for a second. So imagine there's a wall here behind me. Most of you are probably like this because we tend to be a little bit forward flexed. So you're going to put your hips on the wall and you're going to put your back on the wall if you can. And then what you're going to do here is you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together, really push your chest forward without coming off the wall, but you're squeezing your shoulder blades together, trying to get the entire back of the arms on the wall, squeeze, and then relax. You're using your your shoulder blades here. Can you see that? I'm using my shoulder blades there to do this movement, okay? So you're placing your hips, your shoulders on the wall, your backs on the wall, and you're squeezing those arms, pushing the arms back into the wall, holding for a few seconds, and relax. Just make sure when you are doing that, we're not then, sticking our belly out. You want to keep your spine on the wall if you can, okay? So we're not lifting the spine up. We're keeping on the wall, squeezing the shoulder blades together, placing the back of the arms on the wall, squeeze, 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 and rest. And again, squeezing the shoulder blades together and rest. And again, squeezing the shoulder blades together and rest. Let's do one more. Squeeze the shoulder blades together. Now hold this position. Separate those legs a little more so you're balanced. You're squeezing the shoulder blades back, arms on the wall. And this time you're going to keep your arms on the wall, your shoulder blades on the wall. You're going to try to do a little bit of kind of like a wall slide from side to side without the arms coming off the wall, without the shoulders, the hips coming off the wall. So you're keeping your shoulder blades squeezing together and you're just sliding your spine to side along the wall. Just go as far as you feel you're able to. You don't have to go all the way down because I don't want your arms to then come off the wall because then you're not doing the exercises intended. So you want to keep squeezing back as the first priority. And then if you can, you're kind of sliding your arms side to side, kind of twisting your spine from side to side. Let's do one more. And rest those arms down. Okay, hold on to a wall, a chair, whatever you got. We're going to do a little bit of a stretch. You're going to take your leg and step back so that you're bending your front knee, but you're keeping the back knee straight. You're really reaching the back heel to the floor with the knee straight. And you should feel a stretch in that back half there. Push those hips forward. If you don't feel the stretch, you can walk the foot out further. Or if your leg is like this and you feel too much of a stretch, bring it in so you can try to reach that heel, that back heel to the floor with the knee straight. Chest up, hips forward. Keep pushing that back knee straight, reach that heel towards the floor. And then we're going to switch legs, other side. Really think of digging that back heel to the floor, really push that back knee straight. Stick the hips forward and you should feel a stretch in the back half. Good, coming forward. Okay. We're now going to bring one leg forward, so one heel forward, and you're going to bend the back knee. And so such that it's almost like you're about to sit down. You're sticking your bottom back, your chest is coming forward, but one leg is straight. You can reach down to hold on to that straight knee, or you can hold on to a chair or a table, whatever you got. And you should feel a stretch in the back of the thigh. If I go forward, it looks like this. You stick the leg forward, and then you bend your hips back, bending one knee from the other side, like that. Yeah, like that. So then you should feel a stretch in that straightened thigh, in the back of the straightened thigh, and probably the knee too. And coming back up, let's switch sides, other leg, sticking your bottom back, bending one knee, so you should feel the stretch in the back of the straightened thigh. Okay, coming back up. And now we're going to do a thigh stretch. So you have two options here. If you're really flexible and you're pretty balanced, you can grab hold of your foot and pull the heel up towards your bottom. Keep your knees in line. So don't let the knee come forward. Keep your knees in line. And you're going to stick your hips forward to really feel that stretch in the front of the hip and the thigh. Or if you can't do this one, that's okay. You bring a chair behind you, keeping your knees in one line, same thing. Oops. You put your foot onto like a stool, a ledge, a chair, whatever you've got. The lower, the easier, the higher, the harder. And you stick your hips forward again, and you should feel a stretch on the front of the hip and the thigh. So exactly the same thing. You can hold on or put it onto an object behind you. The most important thing is knee in line, hip forward. And then let's switch sides. So same thing, you can either put your leg onto a chair to stretch or equally pull it up towards your bottom, and you're still keeping your knees in line. If your knees like that, you won't really feel the stretch. I'd rather you put it on a chair, but have the knees in line and then stick your hips forward. Okay. Next, legs nice and wide. You're going to bring your hands to one knee and stick your bottom back and bend that knee you're holding onto. So looks like this. Stick your bottom back. The side looks like this. Stick your bottom back, one leg straight. And you should feel a stretch in the inner thigh of that straightened leg. Keep your spine nice and long. If you're like this, you might not feel it as much. Keep your spine nice and long and really think about hinging at your hips. Coming back up, same to the other side. Sticking your bottom back, keeping that spine long. You're hinging at the hips, so not like this, hinging at the hips. So from the side, we're hinging at the hips, but the spine is long rather than like this. You won't feel it as much. So spine long, hinge at the hips. And you should feel it on the inner thigh of the string. And coming back up, we're gonna grab our chair. I'm gonna have a sit down again. So just like before, when you're sitting down, we don't wanna go like this, and then fall back into the chair. We want to do the reverse of what we did earlier with the sit to stand, and we want to make sure we're keeping our center of gravity on top of our base of support. So we're sticking our bottom back, we're bending those knees, chest forward, but noticing my base of support, my feet, still on top. So underneath my center of gravity here to have a sit down nice and lightly. And then in sitting, we're going to be at the front of our chair and we're going to do the same trunk rotation we did earlier and just see if you can go a little further than you did earlier, if you feel a little more flexible than you did earlier after doing all of these exercises. So we're going to take our hand, hold on to the opposite knee. The other hand's going to wrap around the back of the chair. So grab hold of the chair, sit up nice and tall, and you're going to twist yourself around. You're going to pull yourself around such that you're looking at the back wall, but you're sitting up nice and tall. Make sure the knees don't kind of collapse to one side. Keep the knees still. And just notice if you're going a little further now with that rotation. Hopefully, yes. If not, that's okay as well. We can keep working on it. Really think about lengthening that spine as you're rotating. And relax. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Take your hand, grab hold of the opposite knee. Then your other hand's going to wrap around the back of the chair. You're sitting tall, and then you're going to rotate yourself around to look at the back wall. And just like before, just make a mental note of how you're doing with this stretch, whether you think you're going a little further or not compared to the beginning of the class. Nice and tall. And rest there. We're gonna now shuffle our bottom to the back of the chair. I'm gonna turn sideways so you can see me. We're gonna shuffle the bottom to the back of the chair. You're gonna lean back into the back of the chair, arms up behind the head. Open those elbows so the elbows are pointing to the side, not forward, to the side. We're gonna stretch up and over the back of the chair. Just be careful here that the chair is not gonna tip, but in this stretch, you should feel in your chest and then also in your upper back. Just be mindful here, you're not gonna tip your chair over. And coming back up, drop the arms for a second. We're gonna do the same thing again. Arms up behind the head, elbows open to the side, and then we're gonna go up and over the back of the chair to stretch the upper back and the chest. And coming back, sitting up nice and tall, shuffle to the front of the chair. Just like before at the beginning of the class, we're gonna take a breath in, reach the arms up overhead, lace the fingers together, Reach the arms up, stretch the palms to the ceiling as far as you can. And then we're letting go and circling wrists all the way down. And again, breath in, reach those arms up overhead, lace the fingers, stretch the palms up towards the ceiling as far as you can, hopefully further than at the beginning of the class. Then we're gonna let go and circle our wrists all the way down. And with that, you are done. Well done, everybody. You're finished. This is your first class of the Stretch and Strengthen exercise series. Hopefully it was lots of fun and hopefully not too challenging. But like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, this Stretch and Strengthen class is designed for those who prefer to have a slower paced class, a lower impact class. So it's quite gentle on the joints, but you're still moving with large amplitude, and you're still strengthening the components that allow us to be balanced and moving through our lives. Okay, I think that's it from me. So if you have any questions, you're welcome to type in the chat box, or you can ask via the raise hand function, or equally, you can email me. My email is in the comment box, or sorry, the chat box here. I'll just type it again in case it disappeared from some people's screen. So you're welcome to email me if you like, if you have any questions, and we'll keep building on the exercises throughout the next 8 weeks. Don't forget, if you want to try boxing, you're welcome to sign up for the Tuesday class with Doug, or you can keep an eye out for any other exercise classes we've got coming up in the future. Okay, thanks everybody. Well done. Happy New Year. What a great start to the new year. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you next week. Thank you, everybody. Bye for now.